If you're anything like me, then you're always on the lookout for new horror games to play. So I thought I'd comprise a list of horror games that I'm looking forward to, most of which should be out pretty soon. First on the list, we have Layers of Fears. Layers of Fears is the third installment in the Layers of Fear series and is described as a first-person psychedelic horror that is focused on tense exploration and immersive storytelling. It is being developed with Unreal Engine 5 technology to create an immersive and visceral horror experience utilizing things such as ray tracing, HDR effect, and Unreal's Lumen system. In these Layers of Fear games, you usually play an artist that begins to lose their grip on reality while fumbling through the game trying to put all the pieces together. I've personally played the first game in the series, and without giving any spoilers away, I will just say that the developers are indeed great at creating immersive psychedelic horror experiences. And even though these games share common themes between them, you don't have to play the first two games to understand what's going on in the third. But I'd highly recommend doing so anyways, just for your own personal enjoyment. Layers of Fears is expected to release early in 2023 on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Next on the list, we have a game that I haven't really heard anyone talk about yet, and that is the Chant. In this third-person action-adventure game, you're someone who is on a spiritual island retreat when one of the rituals being performed goes wrong, awakening psychedelic horrors that you must defend yourself against while trying to escape. Even though I love horror games, they typically share very common themes and tropes. But this idea of a spiritual retreat gone wrong is a fresh take in an otherwise sea of zombie and ghost video games. And that's really what draws me to the Chant, the original theme. I do have to say though that the trailers offer very little gameplay, so it's hard to say if the game will have more of a cinematic horror experience, much like The Quarry, or if they just aren't quite ready to share too much gameplay yet. The Chant is expected to release this fall on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. In this next game, we have a refreshing take on the alien horror experience. Now, I say refreshing, but in reality, it's the alien horror experience we've heard and seen countless times in movies, books, real-life stories, and probably in your own imagination. But it's an experience that I've never seen adapted into a horror video game. In Greyhill Incident, you play an average guy in a small town that works with his neighbors to hide from and fight against alien invaders. These guys aren't some made-up aliens either. They are the Greys that we all know as the classic or OG aliens. The ones we've seen in cable television, movies, and books for the better part of a century. The ones that people have claimed to have had real-life encounters with. Even the flying saucer shown in the trailer is probably what we all imagine in our minds when someone says the letters UFO. It's this nostalgic and very personal aesthetic that has me so excited to play it. It'll be like living out a nightmare that I've had a million times, and I can't wait to do just that. Greyhill Incident is expected to release in the spring of 2023 on PCs, so be sure to add it to your wishlist. Fort Solis isn't so much of a horror game as it is a thriller, but in my mind the two things go hand in hand, so I thought it was worth adding to this list. In Fort Solis, you'll be playing a character named Jack Leary, who responds to a routine alarm at a fort on Mars, but becomes anxious when he realizes no one is there. As the night goes on, things start to spiral out of control as you try to escape with the knowledge of what's going on at Fort Solis. Not only does this game look amazing graphically, but they also have some well-known actors and voice actors playing the main characters in the story. So you can expect top-notch voice acting in this game. As of right now, we have no release date for Fort Solis, but on Steam it says coming soon and it will be releasing only on the PC. This next game is truly the stuff made of nightmares. Choo-Choo Charles is an evil spider train hybrid that terrorizes people on an island. As the main character, you'll be controlling an old train that can be outfitted with weapons and upgraded over time to fight against the arachnid locomotive. You know, on paper, this idea seems so comical that there's no way it could actually be scary. But the second you see the enormous train with its thin red lips, white eyes, pointed teeth, and spindly legs, you can identify exactly why Choo-Choo Charles is classified as a horror game. And if you're like me, you're probably thinking, well, I'll just stay in my train where it's nice and safe, away from that abomination. But if you expect to survive and even defeat Choo-Choo Charles, then you can't stay in there forever. You'll have to go on foot and explore abandoned buildings and complete missions for locals to get powerful weapons and scraps to upgrade your train. This is where the game becomes a living hell. Not only will you have to keep an eye out for the corrupted train, but you'll also have to defend yourself from gun-toting cultists scattered throughout the island and attempt to make it back to your train in one piece. Choo-Choo Charles is expected to release sometime in 2022 on PC. This game has become a cult classic with a hardcore following that hails it as one of the best horror games ever made. Dead Space. But wait a second, isn't Dead Space like 15 years old? It is, but this is a remake for that iconic piece of gaming history. And it's not just a slight graphical overhaul either. This game is being remade from the ground up with new visuals, new audio, and new environments. This means that while the story will be the same, the settings in which you experience it could be different. Even Dead Space's iconic dismemberment system has been overhauled to create a more realistic and gory experience. And as for the audio, it's not just remastered audio or newly recorded bits. They've implemented an entirely new audio system that has sounds bouncing off walls and changing with their environment. If you played the original Dead Space and thought that was scary, then you're in for a wild ride. The Dead Space remake is set to release on January 27, 2023 on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Tall Poppy 2 is a game that many of you might not know about, but all the real horror game fans out there are fully aware of its predecessor. The original Tall Poppy game is a funhouse horror experience where the ghost of a prankster follows you around a church, scaring you with seemingly harmless pranks, all while you try to retrieve your wife's purse and get off the property before he can get a hold of you. In Tall Poppy 2, the prankster has followed you out of the church and continues to terrorize you through the city of Boots Bay. And let me tell you guys, if the second one is anything like the first, then you can expect some really good jump scares that'll make you leave your seat and laugh all at the same time. Tall Poppy 2 has no set release date but is said to be coming soon and only on PC. There is very little known about this next game. It was originally announced 10 years ago and was showcased recently at the Summer Games Festival, but other than that, we don't have much to go on. Routine is a first-person sci-fi horror set on an abandoned lunar base designed around an 80s vision of the future. As the main character, you'll be exploring the lunar base and fighting to survive against an enemy who thinks you are the primary threat. Even though we don't know much about Routine, I'm looking forward to experiencing an 80s-themed lunar base while fighting off threats they throw my way. No release date has been set for Routine, and the fact that it was announced 10 years ago and just now being shared with us again might mean we could be waiting a while for its release. This game comes from a long lineage dating all the way back to 1992, and I'm ashamed to say that I haven't played any one of them. Alone in the Dark originally released 30 years ago on PC and has seen multiple successors bearing its name, and this one is no different. This version of Alone in the Dark is a reimagination of the original survival horror game and is being developed by the same people that brought us Titan Quest Ragnarok and Atlantis, as well as Magicka 2. In Alone in the Dark, you'll be able to experience the story through one of two protagonists, where you try to find a missing person, and while doing so will encounter monsters, solve puzzles, and uncover a plot of rising evil. There is no release date set for Alone in the Dark, but it is said to be coming soon on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. And lastly, we have the game I'm sure you all expected to be here, and that is the Callisto Protocol. The Callisto Protocol is shaping up to be the Elden Ring of the horror genre. That is, a genre-defining game of 2022 that everyone will be talking about for years to come. In this game, you play Jacob Lee, a man who was thrown into the Black Iron Prison, which is a maximum security prison located on Jupiter's moon Callisto. As inmates begin turning into monstrosities, Jacob must fight for his survival while uncovering the horrific secrets underneath Callisto's surface. The third-person perspective and gory nature of this game just screams Dead Space, and the story of some sort of demonic or evil presence beneath the moon's surface reminds me of Doom and, well, Dead Space. It's very obvious that the developers of the Callisto Protocol were heavily inspired by Dead Space, which is fantastic news for any Dead Space fan out there, because not only will you be getting the previously mentioned remake in January, but you can also play the Callisto Protocol on December 2nd of this year on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. And that's my list of upcoming horror games that I'm looking forward to. Let me know in the comments what horror games you guys are looking forward to the most. And speaking of horror games, check out this jump scare compilation from my playthrough of The Beast Inside, one of the best horror games that I've played in recent years. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.